everybody, it's Trigger Bar Philosopher. Welcome back out to the channel. Today we got a great episode in store. We're going to be testing a whole bunch of ammunition in 380 ACP. Should be a good time. Let's get to shooting. Okay, well, we are talking about today 3 different types of ammunition. Usually on the channel, we do one ammunition type at a time. Every now and then I do a few. Kind of puts a hurting on the gel block, so I'm sorry, today we are going to get a very messy gel block, but should be a good comparison because we have 3 very different types of ammunition. Up first, we've got a Honeybadger. It's a screw tip round. In fact, made by apparently, allegedly, the same person who invented the round that Lehigh Defense did, but he went over to Honeybadger or Black Hills Munitions and came up with this round, so it's just slightly different, allegedly. Then we got something from HOP Munitions. They don't claim it's for self-defense, it's a poly round, but we're going to test how this might do in comparison with that screw type munition. It's kind of a fracturing type round. And then finally, we have a Wilson Combat XTP bullet, which I believe the bullet itself, maybe not by Wilson Combat, is one of the better bullets for 380 ACP because it doesn't get too much expansion. But then generally, if it's loaded hot enough, gets reliable expansion, but then we'll get deep enough penetration. Really key to make sure that we get deep enough penetration. A lot of folks who watch the channel love these types of bullets. I must admit in 380 ACP, I'm a little bit of a skeptic of these sometimes called external hollow points, but what they do is they spin through the medium and they create a hydrodynamic effect that cuts a larger hole through the person than just the bullet diameter. Because most of the time with pistol rounds, you just get a hole the size of the bullet diameter, which is why you want to use something like an expanding bullet. And that's also why maybe it's interesting if you have a fracturing round to see what that will do. I'm not sure this will fracture in the gel, but we're going to put it to the test. Another kind of plug is I do have an ammo sponsor. Yes, Chris from the 740 bought this box of ammunition. We were together. That's a key point. We didn't mail stuff. We were together at the Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and he bought this box of ammunition from HOP Munitions. Good guys at the booth there, but he bought it for me, and I do appreciate you, Chris from the 740. Please go over and give his channel a like and subscribe. He's a good guy. Bigger channel than mine, but also just a kind man, and I do appreciate it. So we're going to put that to the test, and maybe also hopefully we can shoot some steel a little bit later, because that's the good part about these fracturing rounds. Okay, well, that's a lot of yapping. If you've watched the channel before, you know all of this, but I got to go through it because every time we get someone asking me why for, why not, why this, we have a test protocol, again, we've used for 40 videos. I'm going to try to keep it the same because there's no point in changing it now because then you don't have a comparison. So what we like to do is we have a first test set up. It's very similar to Gun Sam's. We have 2 layers of denim, 2 layers of t-shirt, followed by 2 inches of clear ballistic gel. Then we stick in something called, that Gun Sam calls a rib simulation. Sure, it could be. It's also just something hard in there. And it has some similar properties to bone, similar hardness, similar water density. It's 1/4 inch of medium density fiberboard. Also, what I have seen in the past is these types of bullets, even though they're supposed to be spinning and creating a bigger effect, when they hit that medium density fiberboard, if they're not going fast enough, like out of a 10mm round, then they just start tumbling and they behave an awful lot like a FMJ bullet. So we'll see how this Honeybadger design does when it hits that medium density fiberboard. After the medium density fiberboard is more clear ballistic gel so we can get a decent shot at what's going on in the gel. I know there's differences between organic gel and clear ballistic gel. I have videos describing that. I have videos showing what the difference is because I've tested organic gelatin on this channel. And at this point, we've got 40 videos testing 380 ACP out of the Bodyguard 2.0. So we got to just keep going and get comparisons. Some of these rounds are rounds that people have asked for, or in the case of Chris from the 740, he wanted to see, he thought it might be cool in the gel. So we're going to put it to the test today. It's going to get murky. I only have 1 gel block to test with it. Sorry guys, gel's expensive, but we'll do our best to see what's going on with these rounds. Should be a good time. Let's get to shooting. Up first, we have that 90 grain XTP projectile loaded by Wilson Combat. On the box, they say 1,000 feet per second. It's out of a 3.8 inch barrel. We have a 2.75 inch barrel, so we are not going to get that. So trickle B and see what do we get with it. I'm going to start one of the slow motion cameras. The velocity we got on that was 922. Again, it's in line with some other ones. That's probably not going to be enough, so I'm guessing we didn't get any expansion. Let's go check, take a look. It actually looks like it might have expanded just a little bit. I'm a little surprised by that. Let's first get some measurements. Looks like it didn't expand, so we'll pull it out here in a second. But it went in through our gel block, through the layers of denim, layers of t-shirt, through our medium density fiberboard. If I'm not mistaken, it looks like it just didn't poke a little hole in that. That actually looks to me like we were getting expansion the first little bit. You know, sometimes we get the bullet clogging and sometimes we don't. It looks like just randomly it didn't clog this time, which is great news. And then went through that first little gel block, 2 inches. Yes, it looks like it dumped all the, that's really important for it. It looks like it dumped all the denim in there, which is a pretty important first sign. And then it almost got down to about little past 16 inches, little past, yeah, right past 16 inches and then bounced back. Let me dig this out real quick and take a look at that. Yes, we did get expansion just on the verge of it. Again, a lot of rounds we test with this XTP bullet is that it's right on the verge of expansion. This did. I don't think there's any magic sauce to what Wilson Combat did because I've tested Precision 1 and American Gunner. That 920 feet per second is right around where you get expansion or don't get expansion. So not bad that we got expansion this time. Again, don't think there's any magic sauce with Wilson. The Precision 1 would have done this. The American Gunner would have done this. And of course, the Underwood would have done this. Again, I do think that this bullet for this caliber is a great, the XTP by Hornady is a great bullet. It doesn't, you know, even when it expands, it doesn't get too much. Let's just take a quick look at what the expansion was. So it basically got out to 45 caliber. A little bit bigger than 45.455. So that's really good, right? So we went 0.355 to 0.455, so a tenth of an inch wider. That's doing a little bit more cutting. It was doing great damage in that gel initially. That's a good first test. Okay, next up we have the Honeybadger. It's a 60 grain round, very similar to the Underwood's Extreme Defender, but just a slightly different design. Shoot it into the gel. Let me start the slow motion camera. Okay, here we go. For a velocity on that, we got 1126. Let's go down and check it out. We got with that is that ammunition came in through the layers of denim, through the layers of t-shirt. Again, it doesn't really get bothered by this because it's not meant to expand. Hits our medium density fiberboard. This is the round from the XTP, or this is the round from the XTP. This is the Honeybadger. I think the hole is just a little bit smaller just by looking at the two because the one is expanding and the other one's cutting. And again, it's not supposed to cut wood bigger diameter. And then it gets down to about the 13, 14 inch mark. So not quite as deep a penetration, even with the expanded XTP. The expanded XTP got deeper penetration. Again, this is our round here. And of course, it looks like nothing happened to it because that's the way it's designed. Again, it's supposed to go through and cut a bigger hole. And you can tell at some point it might have done that, but it actually looked like it just tumbled because what's happening, and let me try to get a view over the top. Just trying to get a couple of views of this. Hopefully that's visible. You can see the XTP creates a bigger wound track for much further. You get just a little bit of, I'm going to guess that's tumbling going on here. And again, our bullet was faced backwards at the back. So look how thin that little slice through the gel is. It's not very big versus look how big the wound track is back here. Like that's why I tend to like, in this caliber, in 380 ACP, I tend to like what this is doing instead of this. And again, that little short, you're seeing some tearing in that short dimension, but really what it is, it's the bullet spinning on a plane. And so as you migrate around, it looks smaller from the sides than it does from the top, because that's the plane that it was spinning on, if that makes sense. Okay, up next we got the poly round from HOP. It's a 95 grain, it's probably ceramic type round, so I expect it to fracture. Again, HOP doesn't sell this as self-defense rounds, but Chris from the 740 said that fracturing might do a lot of damage, and the guys at the booth were like, it might. Why don't we give it a shot? So that's what we're doing. We're giving it a shot. So again, 95 grain HOP Munitions. Let's give it a go. .954. Let's take a moment and try to unpack what happened here. So the round ended up at about 31 inches, all the way out there. So it didn't fracture at all. That polymer tip, or it's probably not, it's probably more ceramic tip, didn't do anything in it. All what we do when we get our little hole here, it is a tiny hole. That's the little hole right there. These are the holes, the relative size holes from the other two rounds. So clearly the XTP makes a bigger hole in medium density fiberboard. Not that that's, you know, important for anything, but when you start to look at the rest of the gel block here, it did a fair amount of tumbling. It tumbled several more times than even the bullet from Honeybadger did, and just kept going, right? I'm not sure how well you can see that. And it just cut through, but virtually doing hardly any damage as it went out even further in there. But that's what we got for it. Once they stopped tumbling, that feels more like a lead projectile, but it says it's polymer, so I don't know what kind of, it's definitely lead coated on the outside. But interesting performance there from that. And I think that, you know, once these rounds stop tumbling, then you're just going to get the crushing that's happened. In this case, instead of crushing, ending up backwards, it ended up forwards, so it got quite a bit more distance. When I've tested the Winchester white box and SIG FMJ rounds that are flat nose, they tend to not tumble as much, and so create a more true path through whatever they're going through, and don't tumble and move like that. Tumbling isn't bad, it's doing more damage, it's just very unreliable. Okay, we have just the gel block and we have the 60 grain Honeybadger. I want to put one more just into the gel block, see how that performs. And yeah, and then we'll put one of the XTP bullets in. All right, here we go. .1124. It's getting pretty hard to see in here, so I want to kind of try and show it. The middle track, this track right here, is the one from this latest of the Honeybadger, and it's doing the things that you would expect the Honeybadger to do. It's twisting, it's spiraling. Not until the very end does it take a tumble, and it ends up at about 15, 14, 13 inches out there. So again, we get a little bit better penetration when we don't have that medium density fiberboard and it didn't just start off tumbling. So doing the things that you would want it to do. So you'll have to make that decision of if something were to hit a hard bone or something like that, if it's going to keep doing the things you expect it to do. Okay, and we're just going to shoot this XTP bullet. I'm not going to shoot the HOP Munitions again. I think we kind of know what it's done. If it wasn't going to fracture and fragment with the medium density fiberboard, it's not going to do it just in gel. So rather than shooting another shot into my second gel block, which I need for making another video today, I'm not going to do that. So we're going to shoot this XTP. We'll see, hopefully it gets a bit more expansion now when it's just hitting gel and doesn't have any t-shirt or clothing to clog it up. So here we go. Got a velocity of 919, so a little bit slower than the previous one. We'll see what that did then. So look at very beginning, it got very nice hollow point expansion and did the hollow point things. And then it kind of just tapered off after 6-7 inches. Ended up being a little sideways, but it looks like we got phenomenal expansion. Got out to about it got to exactly a foot and then bounced back. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good performance, what we're seeing there. Yeah, I think, again, that XTP bullet is one of my more favorite ones. And I do think it's a little random that we got expansion on both of these previously. It's kind of only been Underwood that's doing that, but I just think 925, they kind of need to be above 950, 975, something like that for reliable expansion. But obviously it's in the realm, and one of these days I'll do like 10 shots of the slow and 10 shots of the fast and see, you know, what difference it makes on the velocity makes on the expansion of the rounds loaded with XTP, but that's for another day. Its widest is about 0.45. 0.49, I think if I moved it around, 0.45 or 0.50 would be about its max. But that's pretty good expansion for a little 380 ACP. Okay, next up, we're just going to get some additional velocity readings with my Garmin Zero C1. And first up, we got the Wilson Combat, the XTP 90 grain. We'll see how that does. Okay, we captured 4 of those shots. For our session summary, we had a min of 878. That's not great. An average of 911, a max of 942, extreme spread of 64, average kinetic energy of 166. Again, that's on the low end for 380 ACP. Well, not the lowest, there's even lower, but I'd like it to see kinetic energy around 200 feet per second or foot-pounds. So yeah, not bad. And it was a great performer today. So that can't complain about that. Let's move on to the Honeybadger now. Okay, we got the 60 grain Honeybadger. We'll see how that performs. One of the things I'm also very curious about is whether or not we are going to have reliability with this round. As again, that screw tip type design often doesn't jive with the dual feed ramp system of the Bodyguard 2.0, meaning it's got a partial feed ramp in the lower, partial feed ramp in the upper. Sometimes those screw tips get caught. So we're going to see how this one performs. So for example, G9 Defense performs very well. Lehigh Defense, not often very well. I have one gun that it works fine in and one gun that it doesn't work in. So your mileage may vary, and if you choose that type of round, I highly recommend that you buy a couple boxes and go test them first. Okay, and those all ran for me, which is great. Now I know they are a slightly different design, which is fantastic. But for our session summary, we had a min of 1119, an average of 1135. Remember, just comparing these two rounds, one's 90 grain, one's 60 grain, we would expect the velocities to go up. It's easier to get light for caliber velocities up and foot-pounds to go up, all those things. We had a max of 1145 and standard deviation of 8.7, not bad. Average kinetic energy of 171, so not super on the high end, but it's not doing bad either. So yeah, let's move on, see what this HOP is doing with that 95 grain projectile, and we'll see where it's sitting at on this Garmin. Okay, we got the 95 grain HOP, and I guess HOP stands for House of Paine, P-A-Y-N-E. I'm guessing that's one of the owner's names, last name of Paine, but that's kind of a cool take on it. But HOP Munitions, so here we are. We're going to shoot some steel because it's supposed to be polymer, and that's what it's for. But ooh, something didn't happen right on the second round, and not really working to cycle this round. So that's not good. Give me a second. Something is jammed and I cannot open it. This is a feature of the Bodyguard. On ammo, it does not like it. Really doesn't like it. And sometimes gets stuck like that. So it cycled the next round, but did not, I'm going to pull that bullet out, but did not reset the trigger. So pull that one out, and here we go again. Yeah, it's not going back into battery with these, so it's not something. I'm sure it's the shape of these rounds with how big they are up top, and that's been what I've noticed. If it's more cone shaped up at the top, like this XTP, you see that? If it's more cone shaped, it tends to cycle better in the Bodyguard. When it's a bubble like that, it doesn't seem to cycle very well. There are hollow points that look like that. I'm sure it's within the spec of 380 ACP. I have no doubt in my mind. But the chambers, I feel on the Smith & Wesson, the Bodyguard 2.0, they're a little off. And this happens. So very good to test your rounds in the Bodyguard. No doubt this will run in a lot of other 380 ACPs. It just does not run in the Bodyguard. My guess is to fix this, they would have to seat that deeper or use a different shaped bullet. But yeah, let me see if I can get this out again. It's kind of stuck in there. Yeah, we got it out now. Try and get one more reading at least on this before we're calling it. We'll shoot some more when we go for accuracy. I think we got 3 rounds in there. So for our min, we have 968. For our average, we have 980. Max of 993, extreme spread of 25, standard deviation of 12, and average kinetic energy of 203. So I was actually kind of thinking that this is kind of on the good end of power for 380 ACP. So well loaded by HOP, just not optimized for the Bodyguard, which is a shame because I was super excited about it. But that's definitely a downside of the Bodyguard is some rounds don't pass what I like to call the plunk test. Let me show you what that is when you drop a round into the chamber and then it doesn't come out easily. So plunk. And just that force is enough to kind of get it to stick in just a little bit. Plunk. Versus you do something like this round, and it'll easily, before you even turn it over, it's sliding out. But like versus these rounds, they're not. Like you have to go all the way up, give it a little shake, and then it comes out. So if it doesn't pass the plunk test, it's not going to work in your barrel. And my problem is that I think the chambers are off a little bit, and I'm not going to get a mold, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Sorry, someone else is going to have to do that on YouTube. But the problem is, I think the chambers are a little tight on the Bodyguard 2.0. I've heard that from others. My testing seems to confirm that. There are a lot of rounds, not a lot of rounds. It's probably the 3rd or 4th round that I've tested in the 40 that don't pass the plunk test. So, all right. With that said, let's shoot a little bit of accuracy. Okay, we are back at 5 yards. Back. Haha. But this is where I have been shooting for all the videos that I've been doing 380 ACP. It gives you a sense of where these rounds hit for the Bodyguard. Now, somewhere along the line, yes, I did get an optic cut for this. It's a lightning rod. Some people are just like, why the freak are you doing that? And they get so mad. Well, I mean, one of the stories on this is I got a really bad stuck case when I shot the Fort Scott. Tumble upon impact, I got a squib load, and I had to bang that sucker out. I stopped trusting what this barrel might do and this gun, if it's going to be so reliable after I took so much time pounding on it, trying to get the squib load in. So I decided to buy a second gun. I have a carry comp gun. That's the gun that I carry all the time. I don't do all the range testing with it. Then came along the optics cut, and I know after that came along Viridian, who puts an optic on it, and Gideon. But at any rate, I thought it'd be fun. I do like red dots. I think it's pretty cool, and I enjoy it. But nevertheless, I know some of y'all freak out when they see a pocket gun with a red dot on it. But what it is zeroed for one type of ammunition, my Hornady XT, or my Underwood XTP. And then I like to see how the different ammunition that I'm testing, if it moves up to the right, up and to the left, down to the right, down to the left, see if it's changing. Point A and point of impact is changing with these rounds. Sometimes they do. It's been surprising over the course of the 40 different tests that I've been doing. That's what we're going to do here today. All right, here we go. Okay, All right, that's a string. Yeah, I got 3 nice in there touching, and I dropped 2, and that's what I was saying. That's okay, but nothing going on weird. These bullets aren't going in sideways. That's one important reason we shoot into paper. We also just get more rounds testing reliability. Next, let's move to that Honeybadger. Okay, now we got 5 rounds of the Honeybadger. Repeat the same test. All right, go down, check it out. Okay, we see that Honeybadger, and I think an interesting thing is that I do see my point A and point A impact shift up just a little bit versus this was a little bit more on target, but this is definitely moving up. I was aiming in the center, and some of those were moving up. And again, I'm more likely to believe I will dip when I do something wrong versus pull up. That's not very much like me, and not what a lot of shooters do either. But notice all the weird stuff going on in the paper. That's because it has that weird screw tip round. That's not because it's tumbling or keyholing or anything. That's pretty good. Nothing wrong with that ammunition. Okay, we have some rounds of that HOP munition. I don't have a lot of hope. I'm not going to try every round. I'm just going to try a couple. Maybe we get lucky on a string. That loaded. Here we go. Hey, there we go. No, and then didn't got a round stuck in there again. All right, we should be able to fire the last round, so at least we'll have 3 shots. All right, let's go down and check it out. Okay, this is our group down here. It's not a bad group, nothing doing wrong. Again, it's very distracting when you have to really jack on your slide to discharge the next round. We did get 2 in a row though. It's pretty good. You know, one of those must have passed the plunk test. And yeah, it's doing the things that it should be. And those are, you know, I can definitely feel a difference in shooting these versus these other rounds. It's definitely kicking a little bit more. They load those well. That's great on HOP. Okay, well, let's wrap things up. Today we had a great time shooting our Bodyguard 2.0. A great time and some frustrating times. Today we had out the Wilson Combat XTP loaded 90 grain projectile. We also had the HOP Munitions 95 grain. They call it their poly. I assume inside some kind of jacket there is a polymer tip inside of it. And then also we shot the Honeybadger 60 grain screw tip type round. And we got great performance from the Wilson Combat today and the XTP. That XTP, generally speaking, is a great round. I usually like it loaded, but again, we saw from Wilson Combat, it was expanding. I think the XTP bullets, this is my understanding, is if you go below, if you're at between 900 and 950 feet per second out of your firearm, it probably or will 50% of the time expand. Some percentage of the time will expand. You get above 950, you get above 975, it's going to a lot more reliably. Even still then, it won't be 100%. That's why some people are saying, that's why I like this Honeybadger, or that's why I like the Extreme Defender bullet. For me, I carry the XTP bullet from Underwood when it can be found. They seem to be out of stock right now, but I'm sure in a month or so they'll be back in stock yet again because it's a pretty popular round for them. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you go with the flat nose? Do you like the XTP? Do you like the non-expanding? That screw tip type round? Put it in the comments below. Hope everyone has a great week, and let's get to shooting.
From pistols to rifles, we'll take on the best. Review each weapon, put them to the test. With revolvers and shotguns, we'll break it all down. The Second Amendment protects from the crown. Living for freedom, defense.